Hello and welcome to the podcast, The Way of the Sensitive. I'm your host, Cara Wild. This is a podcast for those of us who feel called to live in a different way, to create a new society where diversity and uniqueness is celebrated, not shamed. We're the channels of the light, co-creating a heaven on earth upon this beautiful planet. We're here to live and achieve our soul's goals in this lifetime. To us, it's not woo, it's real. Calling all the magic makers, the mystics, the empaths, the sensitives, the starseeds, the autistic ones, sometimes sidelined, sometimes scapegoated, but we know that we're here to create new pathways in the one mind, because it's not just about traversing alternative dimensions, it's also about landing and being fully alive in this gorgeous world. Hey sensitives, and welcome to episode 12 of the podcast. And today on the interview guide series, I am talking to Tania Angelis, who channels for us today the angels of the energy of money. And the podcast begins with Tania's own personal journey of working with the angels and EFT in uncovering her conflicting and limiting beliefs around money, and how that all unfolded for her, and how it eventually led to her working with the angels, channeling and supporting other peoples in creating and allowing more abundance in their lives. So if you're interested in the subject of money and how to attract more money into your life, how to understand what your intentions are, how to manifest from your heart field, and how to check whether you've got any shadow intentions, we have a really good conversation about what I can call spiritual snobbery for people who, you know, for those of us that are light workers and think that it is better to give your services away for free than to charge for them, and the dark side of that intention and what actually might be going on and how it can actually repel money coming to you. So if you've come across these subjects before, I'd still invite you to listen to the podcast, because the way that the channeled information came through for me, it landed with me differently. So there were familiar concepts, but I got a different perspective on each of those concepts in a way that really let me change some of my beliefs around money and how I was allowing money to flow into my life. So it might be the same for you. Just a heads up that this is probably the last podcast for the interviewer guide series, and I will tell you more about that next week. But for now, enjoy the podcast, and I will see you in the Facebook group. Hello everybody, and welcome to the podcast, and again with the Interview Your Guide series. And today we have Tania Angelis. Hi Tania.
Hi there, how are you? It's wonderful to be here, Cara.
You too. And for those of you listening, we've just been having a really good giggle and exchange of what it's like to be a channel and fairy lights twinkling when the angels are around, and comparing notes. Yeah. So yeah, I've not known Tania very long, but I already feel at home in her company, another channel. So we've got a theme as we were talking. Tania and I just kind of developed the idea that today the theme is going to be around money and working with the angels with money. And Tania, you've got a little bit of a story that you told me about this, about how the angels directed you to work with money in the first place, the topic that for light workers we so need to get better at this.
We certainly do. I have had my real share of money woes. I actually ended up being declared bankrupt in 2008. And then in 2013, I almost had to do it again.
Wow.
And it was at that point I was thinking something needs to change here. So I tuned into my angels, and that's when they started guiding me to something that I had learned in 2001, 2002, and then found it annoying and promptly ignored it. They introduced me back to emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So they introduced me to a guy called Nick Ortner, who I found online.
Yeah.
And there was something on there around the topic of money. And I thought, oh, this is quite interesting. So I thought, well, you know what? I'll tap along, I'll just see. And so, and as I tapped along, so much stuff came up for me. And I was like, oh my God, this really, really works. So after having gone through that guided tapping with Nick on that one topic, I thought, what can I do more about this? And so the angels just guided me to keep working with my tapping. And over a period of probably about 8 months, I was hammering the topic of money non-stop. It would be it would be first thing in the morning, middle of the day. Every time I had a negative thought about money, I would have multiple tapping sessions over the course of the day.
Yeah.
I also, alongside using my tapping, I was also doing what's called morning pages, which is something that Julia Cameron has introduced us to. So it's where you spend the first few minutes of the morning, you just write 3 pages of whatever's going through your brain. And so that also helped me to get rid of a lot of the negative thoughts I had around money.
Yeah.
And, I discovered I had so many contradictory beliefs around the topic of money that were just, they were pulling and pushing against each other. So for example, I came across one belief, which was it's profligate to put the heating on. So I would spend my time shivering with the cold. And then I had a complete counter belief, which is it's really an act of poverty to not put the heating on. So I had these 2 thoughts running in my head at the same time, which left me in this place where I was like, well, so part of me wanted to put the heating on, and part of me was so adamant that it was the wrong thing to do. So it's these kind of crazy things that we don't realize are actually shaping everything that we do, the thoughts we think, and therefore the actions that we take as a result of them. And so I spent about 8 months solid just really going into the depths of my emotions, uncovering things like from my childhood, uncovering things from my first marriage, uncovering things from when I was a single mum, all sorts of things that sort of were all part and parcel of my crazy beliefs around the topic of money. And from that, all of that then helped me to then start helping other women with their money beliefs as well, because I came to realize that I wasn't the only one who was feeling like this, and that so it took me again on a journey by itself, and that's really what my angels have really helped me to do, is to find ways in which they have helped me, and I can then help other people as well. Because every time I do some healing on myself, then I can also then help other people with a similar thing. So that's one of the reasons why I'm known as the angel shaman, because that was actually a title given to me by the angels in a meditation one day. I said, is there a kind of a title or a name for what I do? And they said the angel shaman, and I went, oh wow, okay. And I thought that makes perfect sense, because the path of the shaman is the path of the wounded healer. And so every time I went through a really big healing for myself, I was then able to help other people, and other people would start appearing who were a little bit further behind than I was. And so I was able to share my knowledge and wisdom with them. And, over time, it became apparent to me that I really needed to talk much more about angels. And so it's from sort of going from just working with them personally to mentioning them to a few close friends or other people who are on the spiritual path, to finally coming out coming out the spiritual closet. And having done that, I'm now ended up here as well. So I'm now able to, help even more people than I could do just through what I'm doing. So it's been quite a journey that the angels have led me on. So it's been really wonderful as well.
And I love your description of the angel shaman and, the wounded healer. I find that particularly beautiful, that there's no hierarchy on that, is there? There's just, you're the one that's left the village and kind of come back to tell everybody about it.
That's right, yes. Yeah. And traditionally the shaman has always kind of lived on the edge of the community. They've never been sort of in the heart of the community. They've always been the kind of in historically in England, it would always be the hedge witch or the wise woman who would live at the edge of the village or live in the little cottage out in the woods that people would go and seek out. And that's exactly, here in the UK, that is our shamanic heritage, and same with the Druids as well. So we've got that shamanic heritage here in the UK. It's not just exclusive to communities, through sort of in Central and South America or out in Africa and so on. We have that heritage here. And so that's why I was really surprised at it. But at the same time, I wasn't, because I realized that that's so much what I have done even before I was, working full time with the angels, that I was very much finding what was broken inside of me, and then I was finding a way to heal it. And I wasn't interested in kind of papering over the cracks. I was wanting to find a permanent solution, and that's what my angels have always helped me to do. They've always helped me to find the limiting belief, find the contradictory thoughts that were at work, and then actually let them go, so that I could actually, then actually move forward with what I was doing.
I think you raise an important point as well about when you mentioned that the angels were the one that directed to EFT, because I think when you first, sometimes what I notice is there's this pressure sometimes on channels or light workers that they're guides of all the answers, and we kind of forget that they're guides, and that there's human angels here that have already developed something, or it's quicker to read a book than it is to channel all this information. And we can put this real pressure on ourselves that, we've got to do it all between us and as guides. It's got to be all inner world stuff like that. And I think, the fact that they directed you to another human being is worth noting.
Yes, and that's really how angels work, because they know that they can't intervene in our lives unless we ask them for help. And equally, they know that it's much easier for us to look at another human being and understand what someone else is saying to us than necessarily to tune into our angels, because quite often the messages that we get from our angels for us individually, before we're sort of really, really used to talking to our angels, can be quite generic, or they can be quite sort of almost like mystifying. So you might, for example, keep finding lots of white feathers around, which is a classic sign that angels have been there. And then you sort of think to yourself, well, what does this white feather mean? Yes, I understand that it means my angels have been here, but have they got a special message for me or anything? Or you might pull a particular card from an oracle deck, and you keep getting this card over and over again, and you're looking at it and you're thinking, I don't really understand what that card means. I wish there was a way of it. And so the angels, if we see something like that, and they sort of say, right, well, actually, then all of a sudden you'll get introduced to someone, or you'll overhear something, and then all of a sudden it makes perfect sense. It's like, yes, that's exactly what it means. Right, I couldn't quite get that little part, I couldn't quite get those finer details. So that's where the angels are really, really good at helping us. They kind of give us the headlines, and then they guide us to the people who can give us the fine detail. Right. And that's one of the reasons why I love being able to be a channel for them, because it enables them to kind of to bring down the fine details that they are really good at. Because angels are incredibly organized. They're able to find all sorts of things. They are able to locate, lost items. They're able to bring you guidance. They're able to answer any question. It doesn't matter what topic it is that you're asking them about. They will answer you, and they will guide you to the perfect solution that works for you. Because that's the other thing that for people to remember, is that it's totally personalized guidance as well. And just because just because method A works for person B doesn't mean that method A will work for you. So that's what the angels will do. They will guide you to something that you understand and that is right for you at that moment. Because, as you're aware, there's so many different healing modalities out there that if you go for the wrong one at the wrong time, it won't have the impact on you that it will do if you wait, a couple of years to actually go through that. So I've had that with quite recently. There's a friend of mine who's been offering DNA activations, and I thought that sounds great. But every time I went to go and do it, I got a pull back, and it was like, okay. And I tried 2 or 3 times, and each time I went to go and click the button. It was, I could feel this real I was like, oh, okay. So either the time's not right, or maybe the person's not right, or there's something that is stopping me. So So I want people to realize that, just because you see just because Facebook's full of this particular healing modality, or your inbox seems to be full of all these like activations and all this sort of, and all sorts of just kind of like, oh my word, sometimes it feels overwhelming, but you will find the one that when you look at it and you just go, oh, that's me. That is, and that is me for now as well. So never discount what you see. If you see something popping up again and again, that is your angel's way of telling you this is important. You need to take notice of it. So
because there are so many different healing. That's a really good point. There's so many different healing modalities, and thank God, because we're all so unique. We're all drawn to different things, and we're just in this new paradigm now where things like that are just exploding. I remember right back to, I don't know, 11 years ago when I first trained in EFT, and Gary Craig was saying we're at the ground floor of a high-rise healing unit, and it has just taken off. And in that same breath, I know I'm going to ask you to bring your angel in a minute, the one specifically about money, but there's so many different collectives that you can work with. There are angels, there are beings from other planets, and I always kind of guide my students in my course when we're channeling our guides, specific ways of making
Sorry, that's one of my cats.
That's all right. The more the merrier. To a specific way of setting the intention so that they connect with the guide that's right for them. So I guess my simple question is, did you choose the angels or did they choose you? How did you pick that collective out of all the ones that are around?
I've been working with angels personally for nearly 20 years now. They started sort of coming across my radar fairly soon after I hit my spiritual path. I started my spiritual path back in 1999. You were talking about 11 years ago, it wasn't much. Back in 1999, there was even less. The internet was barely invented. Emails were only just thought of. Mobile phones were like bricks, And so to find out information about, all I was aware of at the time was I just had this tug and this knowing that there was more to life than met the eye, but I had no way of understanding what that was. I didn't, I hadn't even barely heard of maybe things like meditation, but the only thing that kind of people knew about was transcendental meditation, and it's just like, that doesn't really sound like my thing, and so there was so little information around. But slowly but surely, I was guided, and angels came onto my path very early in that time. So that's when I discovered Doreen Virtue, our wonderful author. So she really has she has led the way in terms of opening up people's consciousness around the topic of angels. So I found her, and then some of her books and so on. And so I have worked with my angels for quite a long time. And so really when I realized that my primary psychic sense is claircognizance, which is where it's what they call clear knowing. It's when things just appear in your head. When I realized that was my primary sense, that's when I realized I could actually take it further, and rather than just wait for things to kind of download into my head as a little package, I could actually open up communication and allow angels to actually come through, because I was so familiar with the angelic feelings. And so I realized that, if I wanted to, I could talk to any member of the angelic kingdom. So I can talk to any of the archangels. So I can simply say, I can name one of the archangels and we can have a conversation. Or we can talk with like the angels of abundance or the romance angels. There's also the seraphim and the cherubim that you can also tune into as well. So there's so many different angelic groups out there that pretty much every time I start channeling, I can almost feel like there's this massive queue, and as I mentioned to you before when we started the podcast, I was channeling the other day, and I just said, is anyone here wants the message? And this voice just said, I am Michael. So that was Archangel Michael. And then, so he said, then we had Archangel Raphael, and then Archangel Gabriel came, And then I said, well, as we've had the first three, we might as well ask Archangel Oriel to join us as well. So Archangel Oriel joined. So we had the big four, what was, as I call them, the big four came through. And each one had a slightly different message, and each one had a completely different energy to the other one. So, for example, when Archangel Michael comes through, you always feel this heat around you. He is very much an angel. He's very much associated with angelic fire, and so you kind of feel, you sort of all of a sudden like, woof. You know, it's not just when you get to a certain age; it's when Archangel Michael comes. That's the way I like to look at it. You know, it's an angelic energy surge. So.
Absolutely.
So, and then when Archangel Raphael's around, you always get this sort of sense of how can we describe it? It's this real sense of anything's possible. With Archangel Raphael, because he is the angel of healing, and he doesn't just look after our physical healing. I didn't realize for a long time that it's not just about, you know, oh my arm hurts or my leg hurts, whatever, you know, let's call on Archangel. If you've got emotional pain, Archangel Raphael will heal that. If you've got mental distress, Archangel Raphael will heal that. If you're in spiritual distress, Archangel Raphael will heal that as well.
Right.
So he heals us on so many different levels, including obviously the physical, which is what he's most widely known for.
Yeah.
So when each of them come through, there's a totally different energy. So, for example, if I tune in with the cherubim, they're sorry, they're very playful. They're very playful energy, and almost it's a childlike energy, not childish, a childlike energy, very much. And they're quite small, the cherubim, you know, so they have this very mobile energy as well. So which is totally different to the seraphim, who are very, what's the word I'm looking for? They are very much around channeling higher wisdom and higher esoteric knowledge. Okay. So they have a very different outlook on life to other groups of angels. So it's been so wonderful as a channel to get to know all these different angelic folks. So I mean, I simply say angels because I never know which angel is needed in any situation. So I always just say angels because it means that whichever angel or groups of angels are needed, they will come into us and they will help. So that's one of my personal rules is I just say angels.
So if we kind of set the intention that an angel's going to come through and speak to us directly about money, then that's enough just to set that intention. Okay. Yeah, so are you all right to start channeling?
I certainly am. So if you I'm just going to take a little drink just to make sure.
I'll just start saying like apologies to my audience, because if I'd have like planned this better, I guess, and known that money was coming up as a topic, I would have invited questions, and I would have planned it better. So I'll go with the flow and see what happens, and then you never know, we might get you back on as a Q&A. So if you just let me know when you're ready.
Yes, yeah, and I'd be very happy to do a Q&A. So,
okay.
And the angels will give you the right questions to ask as well. So.
Oh, I'll bargain. Okay, I'm feeling something really quickly in my heart area, and I feel quite emotional, which is not unusual for me. My podcast, my rules. Okay, so thank you for joining us. I can feel you here.
We are delighted to be here.
Do you have a specific name that you'd like us to know you by?
We are money.
Okay, so you are your money. You're the angels that want to talk about money, or you are the collective consciousness of money?
We are angels who work with the energy of money. We are called money because this is something that is easiest for you to name us. There are so many others that it is difficult for us each to have an individual name. So whenever you are struggling with the concept of money and you wish for some help, then angels, you just have to say the word money and us angels will be there with you.
Wow. I'm going to start doing that. I never really would have thought about it like that. Okay, so can you tell us how you see money from your perspective? How would you define money?
Money is merely an energy. It is something that you give and receive in order to give value. So it is a arbitrary thing. It has no value in and of itself. It is merely something that you as humans have decided to use as a way of judging one level of service or product or another.
Yeah, that's, yes, okay. So, what guidance do you think that we would, like for light workers in particular, how would you guide us to think differently about money?
We want all the light workers to know that there is an unlimited amount of money available, not just to you, but to this whole world. The money is the way that you will be able to share your gifts with the world. And the world really needs every single one of you to wake up and to share those gifts. We see so many light workers who struggle with money and feel that it is what is holding them back. But we want you to know that it is not just money that is holding you back. More, it is the fear of money and the fear of being without. We want you to realize that all you have to do is to simply go within and find that a place of abundance within you, the place of divine source. That is your source where all your money will come from. It is the place where all of your money will go to, because as you allow more money into your life, so you too can share that with more and more people. And as you awaken, as you find ways of expressing your beautiful gifts in this world, which are so needed, then you too will be able to influence far more people because you have the way of actually doing so.
So there's a couple of things there for me. There's something that you said about finding that abundance within you, we hear that, so it's like we become the abundance that we want to experience. But there was something about the way that you described it. I've not quite heard it before. I don't know, there was something different. So could you speak more about how we manifest money? I think it's kind of called now at the moment. How do we connect with that divine source inside, and how will that actually affect money that shows up for us in our bank accounts or our physical reality?
The divine source within is the golden flame within your heart. So it is most important that you take down all of the shields and all of the barriers that you have placed around your heart. Light workers really struggle with the idea of having an open heart because they are so generous and so gentle that they are very easily hurt in this world. And so we understand why you have placed all of these barriers around your heart. We want you to know that by connecting with that golden flame inside of you, this will enable you to shine more brightly and to do more good with it. And this is the way that you will be able to manifest. So we understand that when you mean manifest, that what you are looking at is you are looking at something becoming physical. You are looking at something going from an idea or a thought in your mind to becoming an actual physical object. And the way to do that is to simply focus on it in your mind and feel it inside of you, feel it inside of your heart. When you have it here in your heart area, then it is possible for it to come out here through the heart, and with your love that is so important for you. So we want you to realize that there is so much more that you can do with money when you feel a love for it, and that it will actually help you rather than hold you back.
Okay, so that's probably why I felt like crying in my heart when you first connected then, because I am going through some releasing of more barriers that I've come across that I didn't realise I was still holding. And it kind of makes sense that if we manifest from that heart field, I call it that magnetic heart field, if we can't hold money in our hearts, if we've got any judgment about it being evil, wicked, dirty, we're not going to want to bring in that into love, are we? I guess that's
exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So my next question is, I know a lot of light workers struggle with the idea of getting paid for service, and it's like if people can't afford it. There's also, I want to say, some of it is a beautiful intention that they just want to give their gifts away for free. But I have to say that I think us light workers have a bit of a dark side of that there is some spiritual snobbery and superiority, as though our gifts are so important we can't possibly charge for them. So they're more important than a lawyer or a plumber or somebody else. And I think that needs talking about quite a lot in our community. I don't know if you have anything that you want to share on that.
Well, we see so many of you giving things away, but when you give it away, you do not do so from a point of view of giving from the love of doing it. What many of you are doing are you are giving, but you have a hidden expectation behind it that in giving you will receive. What we want you to do is to learn that if you wish to give something, you wish to give of your gifts, and you do not wish to have a financial reward for doing so, that you must make sure that you give those gifts with the purest of intentions. So we would ask all of you to look deep into your heart and ask yourself, are you giving this away in order that you may then be virtuous? You may have a feeling of being virtuous because I give my gifts away for free as opposed to this other person who takes money for them. So there is much snobbery that goes on within it, as you call it, because there are those who believe that by giving their gifts away for free, they are therefore somehow making themselves more uplifted and more brighter, and they are better humans than those who are taking money. But there is absolutely no difference between those who take money and those who give it for free, simply because what we're wanting to do is for you to give those gifts from the point of view of having so much that you can give. When you have so much inside of you that it spills out and it comes out to others, that is what is more important. So we would ask any of you, whether you accept money or not for your gifts, that you are giving your gifts from the very best part of you, not with this hidden expectation, because then when you give with a hidden expectation, whether you want to receive money or not, with that hidden expectation, the people that you are attempting to give to will understand that there is something there that they cannot see, but they can sense, and it does not feel right to them. So you may find that even though you are not charging for your gifts, and therefore they are placing no financial barrier for people coming there, what people will move away from is your hidden agenda that they are frightened of, because they understand that what you are doing is you are giving because you are feeling lack, and you are wanting to give something in order that someone else will take notice of you and say, there, you are suffering, we will give to you as well. Right. So we want you to understand that there must be, when you give your gifts, you must do it from a place of pure love, of a feeling that you are so full of this beautiful gift that you have, that you want to just give it and give it and give it. But remember, you must always balance giving with receiving, and receiving with an open heart as well. So we want you to understand that it is not about giving without receiving money. It is everything that you give from a place of pure positive love will always come back to you as pure positive love in many forms, and that form, it will include money as well.
Okay, so you've just described the cycle of abundance there as well, and we happen to use money as one ways of experiencing abundance, but that coming from that purity of heart, as you call it, is that desire to give from that filled up well. We have to, to make sure that we come from that place, and nobody likes to feel like they haven't got their freedom, which when we've got a hidden agenda, people are going to pick up on that, aren't they, I guess?
Yes, exactly. People may not consciously realize what they are doing, because this is a vibrational place, and what they are sensing is, on the surface you are giving something, but underneath it there is something else, something which comes from lack, and therefore nobody likes to be in a feeling of being obligated to someone, or also of a feeling where they are not receiving. Instead, what they are doing is they are ending up giving to that person, because the person who is attempting to give from a place of not wanting to appear to want money is actually taking energy from the people that come to them. And so we want you to realize that there needs to be a proper balance of energy, which means that you need to look into your heart. And if you are, no matter whether you are receiving money for your gifts or whether you are giving your gifts for free, this is something that has to be done with the purest of intentions. And if you struggle with that, simply call upon your angels, and they will help you to They will help you to find out what your true intentions are. And even though you may not like what you are finding out about yourself, your angels will heal you instantly of that. So that in the future, when you give your gifts and you do not ask for financial compensation, that you will then be able to give from a place of pureness, and that you will be then able to receive in return from other people, not from the one that you are giving to.
Okay, so that's a case of boundaries then, which is always, something that I think at my tribe, light workers can struggle with developing boundaries and learning how to say no when they really want to say no, not yes when they want to say no. And I really like that idea that I can, I could call upon my angels to help show me where my limitations are, or any of the audience that are watching. So how, for somebody that's never kind of connected with angels at all, how would you best support them in calling their angels to them? What specifically would they need to do to get some support around money?
The easiest way to connect to angels is to simply say the word angels. We are always listening and we are always waiting. We cannot help you unless you ask for us, unless you ask for our help specifically. We are forbidden by divine law from doing anything other than saving you when it is not your time to go. Any other time, anything else that you need help with, you must ask for our help with that. And we will always make that help available to you. We want you all to realize that every time you say a prayer, every time you ask for help, help is always given to you, even if you do not realize it is being given to you, or even if it is not in the form in which you are expecting. So when it comes to money, all you have to do is say, angels, please help me with money, and we will be there. We will help you to feel abundant, because the most reason that people ask for help with money is that they are feeling like there is no money in their life, that there is a great shortage, and that they are always being deprived. And so what we want you to do is to start working. The guidance that we give you may not seem to be anything to do with money. So we may ask you to, for example, to change things that to do with what you consume and place inside of your body, or we may ask you to start looking after your physical body by moving it more. There may be other things that we ask you to do which may not seem to be anything to do with money, but it is all part and parcel of your healing and of your understanding of what it is that you are really truly asking for. What people are asking for when they want an increase in their finances is they really want to feel as if they are welcome here in the world, as if they have a firm place in this world, as if they are needed in this world. And when they are in a place of lack, they feel like they have no value. They feel like they must hide away, that they must become a little shadow of themselves. And we want you to understand that by simply asking us angels, we will do everything that we can. We will place money in your path, so you may find yourself finding coins or finding notes around you that you were not expecting. We will also find things like new clients to come to you if you have your own business. We will help you to get those new clients, because having those new clients, we know that you will then have the extra money that you desire. If you are not in your own business, we will help you to negotiate salary rises, or we will help you to negotiate things like extra benefits that you may get as part of your salary as well. So all of these things will come to you as a way of helping you to feel more open and more abundant. Once you start feeling that feeling of being so full that you are overflowing, then what will also happen is that you will start feeling much more joyful and much more happy. And when you are in places of joy and happiness, then you are much more attractive to those who are around you, who are looking for the talents and the gifts that you have to offer to the world. And this is what we want you to really understand, is that if you find ways in which you can bring yourself up emotionally and make yourself up higher and higher and higher until you are always in a place of feeling light and feeling bright, then you will bring in so much more money than you did when you were down here and you were feeling soft and heavy and like you were not visible.
Okay, so I love that you kind of got it there, that nobody comes in and says, help angels, I've got too much money, I don't know what to do with it. We always kind of like, we're going to ask for more money. And I have had a personal experience of saying to Source, one day, put me where I need to be to receive more money. I was listening to Marianne Williamson, I think, and, said this like, I am statement and declaring and asking source. And the next day I got a letter through from a source of finances that I would never have imagined for myself. So I can personally kind of attest to that, and I love how you've just kind of connected that to the base chakra then, the sense of belonging and feeling safe and secure. And I know that for those of us that consider ourselves sensitive, or quite often we've been scapegoated, we no longer have connections with our family of origin. And I've got to say, I know I'm in the presence of an angelic being, but a lot of us are just really pissed off with being like sidelined and scapegoated and feeling like we've done all that already, and what is the plan from your perspective? I didn't know I was going to ask this. From your perspective, for those of us that are just like living on the edge of a society, what's the master plan in that? Why have so many of our light workers come down at this point and are walking that path of kind of that maverick or that kind of exclusion?
We love this question, and we also want you to know that no matter what words you use, do not be afraid of using them with us. There is no judgment here on the language you use. We want you to realize that many of you are awakening, and that yes, you may feel isolated, but what you are doing is you are anchoring the light into this earth here. Earth is going through a tremendous change right now, and the societies here that live here on the planet are also opening up and changing. We want you to realize that yes, many times there are dark things that you see in your news and your media, but we want you to realize that this is part of opening up the light. In order for the light to come in, the darkness has to be withdrawn. And although you may feel isolated and lonely, you are doing a vital job of bringing in more light. As you become more and more aware of your importance in this world, as you become more and more self-aware and open up all your chakras, open up all your energy levels, so that you are able to communicate not only with other beings within the planet, but you are also able to communicate to your greater self, which is still in non-physical. As you do that and you are able to bring these messages through to more and more people, you will find that you will start finding more and more of your tribe and more of your community around you. So we want you always to realize that if you feel lonely for human contact, that if you are struggling to find people who think and feel the way you do, then simply call upon your angelic team, and they will immediately bring to you the people who think the way that you do, the people who need your help, and those who can help you to open up to the next level. We want you to realize that as light workers, you will always, always, always be moving towards the very best next version of yourself. You are always going to be what they call a work in progress. You are always going to be uplifted. You are always going to be moving forward, because there will always be those coming behind you that you will need to shine your light for. You will become a beacon. You will become so visible and so bright in all of the darkness that people will wonder one day how they never knew that you were there. But as you change your vibration, their vibrations change too. And so you are anchoring and changing everything in this world. And there are so many energies coming to this wonderful planet, because not only is Earth famous within its own solar system, it is famous throughout the universe for being such a place of change, such a place of excitement, such a place of adventure, that many, many souls are lining up right now to come here so that they too may be part of this, even though they may at first, as all of you do, will forget exactly who they are and why they were here. But we know that there will always be something which we place in your DNA, which will awaken at the right time in order for you to start growing. And once that awakening begins, it cannot be changed. It cannot move. It cannot change. It simply gets brighter and brighter. So we want you to realize that if you are struggling on a human level, Call on your angels. We will always be there for you, and we will always bring to you the perfect people at the perfect time for you to make a difference to, and for them to be able to give to you, because we want you to remember too that as you find your own community, it is so important that you learn to receive from them as well as give to them.
That's beautiful, and that is a perfect place to end. It's such a reminder that being here is a gift, and to kind of make the most of that gift. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
You are very welcome. We have been delighted. We are finished.
Hello, welcome back.
Hello.
Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you. Are you all right?
Yes. That was a lot of sustained energy, because they just wanted to keep talking and keep talking, and so of course every time it's just like, hold on guys, hold on. Oh, right.
Lots there. I would imagine that people might want to listen to that a couple of times, because there was a lot there. And there's something about the way that they described it is really, I mean, I've been reminded of a lot of things that I kind of knew, but I needed refreshing on, like remember this, and forgetting how everything's just feels so easy when you're at that angelic realm, and just that's been wonderful to be reminded of. But there was a stream in there that said things in a way that I've never quite heard it said in that way before. I don't know, but I'd be interested to see if anybody else has experienced like that. That was really useful.
Thank you. Do you know what? I'm delighted. I mean, what you're saying about being reminded. I asked the angels for a book to read, because I like to have something to read over breakfast, and so they guided me over to my bookshelf, and they reminded me of this book, which is Paulo Coelho's Manual of the Warrior of Light. I haven't read this in so long, but every time I open to every page I turn into, it's like, oh my God, that's me. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to share a little section.
No, and let me tell you this while you're finding it. I had written down, ask her if she's got a book that she can recommend before we finish.
Oh, there we go. So this little section, it says here, a warrior of light knows that certain moments repeat themselves. He often finds himself faced by the same problems and situations, and seeing these difficult situations return, he grows depressed, thinking he is incapable of making any progress in life. I've been through all this before, he says to his heart. Yes, you have been through all this before, replies his heart, but you have never been beyond it. Then the warrior realizes that these repeated experiences have but one aim, to teach him what he does not want to learn.
Okay.
And I read that and I was just like, okay. Light bulb, as they say. So yes, that's so that was something that I've just read the other morning. I'm just like, whoa, okay. So that's why you guided me back, because I'd forgotten what a good book it is, because it's lots of little tiny bits. It's lots of little sections here. So you just read this page on the right hand side, because these are all articles that he published in very syndicated newspapers. So very small pieces, and he's just collated them all together.
Right, so they can be like meditations.
So you can read it all the way through, or you can literally just dip in and out of it. It's one of those kind of books. Yeah. And say it's quite a few years since I've read it. So it's a really nice reminder that in some ways that I'm kind of coming back to some of the things that I started looking at quite early on, a good 10 years ago. So it's nice when things like that kind of come back full circle, and then you look at it differently, because you haven't having traveled further down your spiritual path, you realize that, oh my goodness, right, yes. And it suddenly makes so, and sometimes things that didn't make that much sense a few years ago, you look at them now and you just go, oh, of course, yes. Yeah. And you just have these amazing sort of light bulb moments where it's like, oh yes, that makes so much more sense. Now I really get it, because quite often the reason we don't understand it is because there's gaps missing in our knowledge and our understanding. And so when we go off and fill in those gaps, when we come back to what we originally looked at, we're like, yes, now I understand why they said that, and when they said it in that way, and why they said it at that point, because then all of a sudden everything sort of comes together. So
yeah, that makes sense, because learning's like cyclical, isn't it? We spiral
yes,
down. Yeah.
exactly. Yes.
Well,
So
thank you. So if anybody's wanting to get in touch with you, learn more about working with their angels, working about getting more money into their lives, where can they find you?
okay, so there's a few different options. So I have a free Facebook group called Angels in Training. So if you type that into the
That's
search bar
excellent.
in Facebook, you'll be able to find that. Then I also have my own website, which is taniaangelis.com. So if you log on there, you will get a free meditation that I did, which when I do my meditations, I channel the angels, and it's the angels of abundance. So if you jump on there, you'll be able to get yourself a free meditation, which you can download. If it's specifically around money, I have a lovely program called Tapping Away Your Money Blues. So if you want to find out about that, then you can do. It's an online program, and you can find that at www.taymb, which is tappingawayyourmoneyblues.co.uk.
Right.
So I would love you to come along and have a look at that. That's a great way of helping you with your money, and it is angelically inspired as well. So you'll get to have some lovely meditations and all sorts of things as well.
Brilliant. I'll put all those in the show notes.
Wonderful.
And guys, you know that the conversation always goes deeper in the Facebook group, The Way of the Sensitive. So I'm sure that if you have more questions, then Tania will be really happy to answer them. And if you're not in
More
there,
than happy.
I'll let you know. Okay, thank you again so much.
Oh, you're very welcome,
see you
Cara.
again soon. Bye.
And thank you so much for this opportunity. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.